Representative Alexandria Ocasio Cortez penned a letter to her constituents Friday explaining her emotional reaction to voting present on a bill funding Israel's Iron Dome aerial defense system this week. "Yes, I wept. I wept at the complete lack of care for the human beings that are impacted by these decisions. I wept at an institution choosing a path of maximum volatility and minimum consideration for its own political convenience," the New York Democrat said. "And I wept at the complete lack of regard I often feel our party has to its most vulnerable and endangered members and communities, because the death threats and dangerous vitriol would inevitably receive by rushing such a sensitive, charged, and under-considered vote weren't worth delaying it forever." The New York Congresswoman's letter comes a day after the House easily approved $1 billion in funding for Israel's Iron Dome, advancing the bill to the Senate for consideration with just 8 Democrats and 1 Republican voting against the measure. Ocasio-Cortez, a progressive, was one of just 2 members to vote present on the bill, meaning they did not vote yes or no, after the funding provision had been struck from a separate bill to prevent a government shutdown and suspend the nation's borrowing limit. It created a real sense of panic and horror among those in our community who otherwise engaged thoughtfully in these discussions, and fueled the discussion to devolve to a point where it became clear that this vote would risk a severe devolution of the good faith community fabric that allows us to. The aerial defense system, which has for years been heavily sponsored by the United States, is designed to intercept rockets mid-air, by targeting them and firing interceptor missiles to destroy them, before they can kill civilians living in Israel. This week's legislation specifically would provide funding to replace missile interceptors that were used during heavy fighting with Hamas in May.